So we're going to call the meeting to order at 6:03. I guess, yep, she's shaking her head. Okay, thank you for being my timekeeper. So we have a quorum, we have 4 members here. We have one more I know was supposed to join us via this thing, Zoom, and I'm not sure about the last one. So the first thing I will do, I believe we only have one public. So first thing is additions or deletions to the agenda. Does anybody, Mark, can you hear? Go ahead.
2 quick things. One, Bill, under board documents, you have videos of meetings. That's actually only videos of the policy committee meetings.
Thank you. I will make that adjustment.
If you want to link to
on the agenda.
the BCTE site, it's just video.rvusd.net.
Thank you.
And then under old business, can we just add a quick discussion about the website RFP?
Yes. That's not till next month though, right?
Yeah, no, it's about reviewing the proposals.
No, okay. Thank you, Mark. Laura, are you good?
I'm good.
Okay, you good, Kate?
I'm good.
You guys over there are administrative?
We got one hand up.
Oh, who's that?
Mr. Barris.
Go ahead, Peter.
Could I have the name of the camera operator and anyone else who's present?
Yeah, we'll send that to you at the end of the meeting. In case, I think there's a lot of people planning on coming here personally tonight. So we'll give them all to you at the end of the night. Good, Pete? Peter? Yeah, okay, thank you.
New business Beehive proxy.
Okay, under new business, we're gonna have Beehive Proxy, which is right here.
Which is different from the other one.
Okay, Beehive is different than the
Bizbit.
Bizbit. Okay, so if you're all set to go, guys, I can't wear my glasses and see the screen, so make sure you make noise if you want to say something, because my glasses fog up too bad. So I have on the consent agenda, I have nothing for correspondence, and we have the minutes of the September 20th, 21 meeting. If nobody has any issues or any questions or concerns, we'll move forward on to members of the staff. Wow, Mark got so mad at me, he left too.
Where are the minutes to the 21st?
Right here. They're in the back of the packet, I believe. Weren't they in the back of the packet, Bill? Right?
I did not see them. I only saw the August 2nd
Nope.
minutes. Are they there?
No, then that would be Bill's fault, so
Sorry, Bill.
let's push him off to the first.
Okay, so we're gonna push off, there is no correspondence, we're gonna push off the minutes.
September 20th,
1,000 lashes with a wet noodle for Bill.
October. Okay.
They were around because I had to answer questions on them, I thought.
We'll just make sure that we do it right.
Okay.
Make sure they're all included.
So-
All the 20th, the 4th, and the 18th.
So I have members of the staff. I see we got Tricia on. Tricia, do you have anything for us?
I do not, thank you.
Well, thank you. And then I got members of the public who's missing.
Jeez, Bill.
Hey, you and I are not doing good on our first set of minutes together, agenda together.
Yeah, you have too much trust in me, is the problem.
Hey, Dana, did you have anything?
No, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you for coming and joining us.
And who's the 802 number?
Oh, there's an 802 number up there too? Who's that? 254-88681.
Could be Chad.
Chad?
Chad was going to call in.
Chad, is that you on the 802 number?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, thank you, Chad. We're up to about new business. Peter, so I don't know if you see that phone number, that's Chad. Okay, thank you. So new business, we have a written principals report. I know that was on top of the packet. So other than what, does anybody have any questions about anything that was in the report?
Yeah, Rich, I've got a couple of questions.
Shoot, Mark.
Thank you. Under personalized learning, the first one, the parent-teacher conferences, is it safe to assume that when you say a high participation, it's higher than it would be if it was in person?
I would say it would depend on the year. I haven't really kept good stats on that, but we had most parents be able to either call in or Zoom in to the meeting at Wardsboro anyway. I'm not sure what the,
Yeah, I would say for Dover, the answer would be no, Mark. It would not have been higher than normal. It was high, but I think it was consistent with when we held them in person. High participation rate.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And then under the testing implementation that you're doing under school safety, have we, or do you know if we will be getting any state funds to cover that?
Not anything additional. The answer is use your ESSER funds.
Okay, thank you.
Laura or Chad, do you have anything?
No, thank you, Richard.
You also?
I'm good.
Hey, one quick, and it kind of goes with the stuff we're doing in the future. We were supposed to work on a personalized learning plan. So I know you talk about personalized learning, but that was just a parent-teacher conference, and you've been doing that for a while where the student kind of leads the conference with the teacher, right? So this really isn't anything part of that new stuff we're supposed to be doing
it's
in the
just
future.
part of the EQS. It's one of the EQS
Right.
standards.
Okay, cool. If
Sorry, we're not able to hear.
you're not able to hear,
Somebody just spoke and I couldn't hear it at all.
oh, it was Matt and Tammy both spoke together in unison. It was like angels singing to us, and they said no, it was part of the EQS standards. You guys have a mic in front of you.
We do, yeah.
It's that one.
Oh, it's not this one?
No.
Oh, what's this?
It's going to the camera.
Oh.
Just talk to our good friend.
So
over here.
speak to the
Hey, I
mic.
got you to talk on air too. That's another point for me. Principals report for the principals. Anything other than what is in your report that you need to bring up?
I have nothing to add.
No?
Okay. Moving right along, Bill, we had the WCSU, we had the meeting after our retreat.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wanted you to, because you weren't here, I was gonna let you just speak to it because I was kind of burnt, so.
Yeah. I'll go through the 3 bullet points in a sec, but just in general, it was a really nice retreat. We met at the Colonel Williams in Marlboro, Vermont. Wonderful event space if anybody's interested in hosting a wedding or a family reunion. Really nice food, good place for a band, has indoor, outdoor, had Wi-Fi. One of the oldest barns in Windham County is housed at the Colonel Williams. And Rich could probably tell you better than I could about the beams were hand-hewn. Okay, hand-hewn beams. It was pretty cool. We spent some time going through every single district, and the board chair and the principals kind of did a miniature presentation, 5 to 10 minutes of just what was going on in their district. It was really well received. It was nice to hear both the freedom that was happening in the districts and the unity of connective tissue that happens across the district. So it was overall a really positive meeting. A couple business items are continuing to be discussed. October 27th will be another WCSU business meeting before the budgeting begins on November 3rd. And then in particular, there were 3 specific things that I wanted to make sure I brought back to the River Valleys Board. The first one being a request from the Coalition for Vermont Student Equity. And Mark, I was hoping if you could just speak to that a little bit.
Well, we spoke about it at the last meeting.
Oh, then never mind. Okay, good. Great job. Way ahead of it.
$1,000 additional, so thank you, Bill.
All right, so that's a congratulatory one.
That means that Bill hasn't had the check written yet, Mark, so get after him, okay?
I do know it has to come before the end of this year because it's important. That I remember. Testing programs,
Actually, it needs to be like as soon as we can, because I think
they need the cash.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will make sure I follow up on that. The testing program, so if you've been paying attention or it's come across your news feed, it happens to be talked about every press conference for the last month that the state of Vermont, the AOE, the Vermont Department of Health very much would like schools to participate in a testing program called Test to Stay, which has been piloted in Massachusetts. And it is a program where students who would otherwise need to quarantine may get the opportunity to test through an antigen test 7 consecutive days at the school. The challenge with logistically implementing this is having the personnel necessary to give the antigen tests and the number of people that might need to have antigen tests for 7 consecutive days. So all the principals and myself and the nurses have met several times over the past 3 weeks, and we are moving forward with being prepared to deliver the Test to Stay program. But we are not going to do it until we have the integrity of the program ready to go, which means we need to be logistically ready, and we need to have the personnel ready, and we need to have our nurses prepared and trained. So I applied for the program. It's $180 for us to participate. And we get what is known as a CLIA waiver, and I don't know what the acronym CLIA stands for, but we need to do that, which we are in the process of doing. And what we have determined is we need 3 or 4 additional personnel from 7:30 to 9:30 in the mornings, preferably with some nursing experience, to assist our nurses, because it's quite possible this could happen at multiple locations. It might only happen at one. It might not happen at all on Wednesday. But if we're going to get people that are going to commit to the training and commit to being part of the logistical plan, we need to have those people. So we're working on a multi-tiered approach. Our first approach is I reached out to the Vermont Technical Center and spoke with the head in the Brattleboro office and spoke with the head of nursing volunteerism. And she allowed me to craft an official email to all the nursing students about this opportunity. That went out last week. We're going to give that a couple weeks to see if we can get some support or interested candidates from nursing students that would get a 10-hour-a-week job to help us implement this program. And they would implement the program, and if they weren't working on the program, they would be supporting the nurse to essentially possibly get hours for their practicum, but also to support the school and the nursing activities that happen at the various schools. River Valleys is still looking for a nurse, so if we got this level of assistance, it may mean that we might be able to get some other nurses from within the WCSU to be able to come over to River Valleys to implement this Test to Stay program. That's stage 1. Stage 2 is we're going to duplicate what we tried to do last year when we were looking for bus monitors. Same amount of time, 7:30 to 9:30. We need 3 personnel that are going to commit to being there. They would get trained by the nurses, and then they would support when we put the program in place. Also, my administrative assistant at central office is going to work with the nurses to be that 3rd tier of backup. And then our 4th and 5th tier are the administrative assistants at the buildings and the principals at the buildings. So it is my plan to try to go through all those things so that the principal and the administrative assistant at the schools do not have to do this. Now, it would be similar to when they did health checks last year, but it will take much longer because it takes between 20 and 25 minutes for each antigen test to work. So we are going to prepare for it, we are going to staff it, and then we will deploy it. I do not foresee this happening before Thanksgiving, but I'm going to continue down the path of once we have the personnel in place, they're trained, and we have the logistics set up, then we will deploy. So I won't be making a public announcement till we're much farther down the road, but for the board's knowledge, that's what we're doing all across the WCSU.
Is everybody good? Any questions for Bill about the retreat?
Oh, I got one more.
Okay, well, this is all the retreat issues, right?
Yeah, it's another retreat issue.
Right, the admin request?
Yeah.
Okay, everybody good? I don't see anybody jumping up and down. Bill?
Yes, so after the,
Request, I'm sorry.
yes, after the WCSU meeting on September 29th, all of the administrators, principals from the WCSU met afterwards and had a discussion, and over the course of a couple days, wrote a letter to the WCSU board, which was reviewed by the WCSU Executive Committee, just explaining how exhausted and stressed their staff are and how they would really like to support them in some way, shape, or form. At the retreat, another reason I love the retreat is the sharing out of different districts. River Valleys shared that last year they gave their staff a personal wellness day to do what they thought was best to take care of themselves and take care of their wellness. And that was shared at the retreat, and that kind of piqued the interest of the other principals in the other schools that they would like to, as a unit, ask the entire WCSU if that could be something that could happen on the Tuesday prior to Thanksgiving. Now, WCSU board is only responsible for WCSU employees, but they knew that they would have the audience of all the board chairs by writing a letter to the WCSU board, which was reviewed by the WCSU Executive Committee. And then at the Executive Committee voted to recommend to the board at their meeting on October 27th their support of this idea, and to bring back to their own individual boards the opportunity to discuss. So that's what happened at the retreat, and then the River Valleys board can decide at some point, either tonight or on November 1st, to have that discussion about that request.
Is there any thoughts on that request from anybody? I'm gonna get Cecil. It keeps moving the camera. Go ahead, Kim.
I think it's a very reasonable request. I think, even though it feels like we're in a better spot, like COVID is still very much a very daily part of our lives, and people are still exhausted.
I mean, I'd almost like to say, if nobody else has a comment, that I think our staff and our administrators are worse shape this year because you're trying to keep the school open. It seems to be a lot more intense with a lot less people. I mean, I think it was easier to get subs last year than this year, it seems like. And I mean, that was something that River Valleys came up with last year, and I think it would be appropriate. I think we called it a mental health day or something. Yeah. So, I mean, I would be all for it. It wasn't warned, but the administrative request is on there. If we wanted to vote on it tonight, we could. We could put it off and just warn it as an extra day off. We did again ask Bill to check the contract, and I don't know if you mentioned that. I don't remember.
Yeah, it's within the board's power.
But yeah, so it is definitely something we can do. And again, I think it's unfortunately, like what Kate was echoing Kate, I mean, I think it's harder this year than it was last year. Last year the staff knew Monday and Tuesday was live, Wednesday was, they had, now they still have students that are out. What is our absent rates? Are they higher than normal?
I would say yes.
Yeah, anybody with sniffles, anybody with a headache, anybody with a fever, anything where you are aching, we are absolutely encouraging you not to come to school.
So would anybody like to make a motion Go ahead, Mark.
I think I suggest that it go onto the agenda and warn for the next meeting since we have that time.
Okay, is everybody good with that?
That works.
Richard,
Laura?
may I ask Mark to explain why he feels that needs to be warned for next meeting?
Mark?
I'm going to decline to answer that. Sorry.
Okay, so I'm happy to go either way, to wait to the next meeting, or I'm happy to proceed now, in this meeting. So if it matters, the timing, to do it tonight versus our next meeting, then I'd like us to consider that. If it doesn't, I'm happy for us to consider at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you, Laura. Kate?
I'd like to ask a question for the administrators. Does it make sense from a planning perspective to have the extra time to know tonight versus in 2 weeks?
I'm totally unable to understand.
She asked, the question was, Peter, does it make a difference? Does it help the administrators to know 2 more weeks ahead of time to plan for it? That was a question Kate asked. Can we move the mic more?
That's distance.
That's okay.
So obviously, more planning time is better for people when we're trying to arrange things, but I don't think that waiting 2 weeks is going to be a deal breaker necessarily. Bill, do you have any feeling on that?
I agree. More time is better. If you wait till November 1st, that's fine. If you're for it, it's appropriately on the agenda. I think that it would be welcome news that if you're for it, tonight would make a bigger difference than November 1st. But I understand the specificity of the actual request isn't on the agenda, but it is there.
I would like to just do it now, and I'll tell you why, is, I plowed snow in October before Halloween. I'd hate to have something happen the next couple meetings, not have a quorum, and I think it's something we did last year. It's not something unusual. I feel like it is on the warning, the administrative request. And I would like to see us just move it forward, and then that way we're done with it. Everybody knows, and I think it shows support for our administration and our staff. Last year, it was brought up to us as a board and we approved it. This year, the whole administrative team is requesting it. I'd like to see us move it forward if people feel
Richard?
comfortable. Yes, Laura?
I move the question.
Well, you gotta make a motion. There's no motion.
Okay. So I move that I need the words.
The Tuesday prior to Thanksgiving will become a self-directed mental health day for employees of the River Valley Unified School District.
So moved.
Okay, Peter, did you get that? Let me just make sure.
Yes, sir. Mental health day for the employees of River Valley.
On the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. And
Yes.
Laura, if you
Yep.
don't mind, I'd just like to have a notation in there that is not a student day anyways. It's not gonna be one less student day. It's a teacher in-service day where they'll make it up at some other point. Not that they'll make it up, but they'll get the instruction they would have gotten on that Tuesday at another time. You want to second it?
Kate will second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Laura and a second by Kate. Is there any other discussion?
Yes, Richard?
Speak.
I would be interested in, at the next meeting, hearing about any other suggestions of things that we could do that might be helpful to increase mental health in our schools, for staff, students, etc. So I'd like to see us take some measured, intentional steps continuing in this direction for this year.
I bet you if you could find all the schools, several additional employees, that would help a lot with mental health. What do you guys?
Yes.
So I think every meeting we should start off by saying we'd love to have people volunteer or get paid to come in and be a substitute or help out, and we still need a student, and we still need a nurse for the schools. Those are big things, Laura.
That's great. Let's start with the mental health list at the start of every meeting. I'm totally in favor of that. What is causing stress in our schools that we can potentially do something about? So,
Doesn't Visbit have a program to help with stress and stuff?
It's the EAP program, yeah.
Yeah, no, but I thought they used to sponsor things like they would have events at the school, like,
Yeah, we have a wellness team, and then there's one at each school that participates in it.
can you guys check into that and see if
Yeah.
there's anything we can do to support them that they maybe are lacking besides help?
Yeah, it's called Path to Wellness, and teachers are actively in it at this point in the year too.
Laura, did you hear that? And did Peter and everybody hear that? The Path to Wellness?
I did, Richard, and I realized that we have that this is discussion under the current motion. I just wanted to capture that. I hope we can revisit this in future meetings.
Okay, so Bill's gonna make a note of that for the agenda, and Kate's gonna remind me when we review the agenda, so. So we have a motion on the floor to do this Tuesday before Thanksgiving, Teacher in Service Day to become a teacher mental health day to allow the administration and the staff, including certified and non-certified, to have, some time to themselves for mental well-being. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 It appears as though it's a unanimous vote. It is a unanimous vote, so are we the first school to approve it?
You are.
There you go, guys. We're leading the way again. We're the first school to approve this.
Thank you,
Yes, thank you very much.
on behalf of the staff as well.
So before we move on, is there any other questions for the superintendent? We did get the cabinet report at the last meeting, and Bill wasn't here, and I thought somebody had a question that we postponed till now, but I can't find my note on that. You remember?
I don't remember.
Mark, go ahead.
I did. You have to give me 2 minutes to look for my notes up.
Okay, so I think, Mark, if you could find that, let us know, but I think, Laura or Chad, are you guys all set with the superintendent? Can we let him off the hook now?
I'm all set, Richard, but I may lose.
Go ahead, Chad.
So with the webinar presentation that was our assigned work for this upcoming meeting, are we going to cover that shortly, or is it was really a question about some of the elements of the data, particularly when they were talking about graduation rates and that not applying to the elementary and middle school students. I'm wondering if it would make sense to include discrimination rates so that we do see when students are staying on grade level consistently and if they're having to fall off. And I don't know if that's something that should go through superintendent or in that sort of discussion. That was my question.
So I think that does fit in well with the next thing we're doing, but I'm gonna just make sure we understood your question, so Kate's gonna repeat it for you. Did you
Okay.
get it?
So I think Chad was looking, and I could have totally botched this, but it sounded like Chad was looking at knowing more about the data, because in the podcast, they had talked about the data, like it didn't give graduation rates for schools of our same stature, because we don't have, people don't graduate from 6th grade essentially. So it sounded like he was looking for more data on that.
Is that correct, Chad?
Yeah. But, in the presentation, they noted, graduation rate does not apply the entire state to look at the matriculation of the younger kids as well.
So Chad, it's interesting you bring that up because we brought that up back when it was just the Dover board for years because that was always a concern. We used to get some kind of feedback from the high schools where the staff had some interaction. So that's something though, when we get onto the discussion of assessing equity, I think we'll do that, bring that up. Before we get to that, Mark, were you able to find your notes?
I was, and my questions have been subsequently answered, so.
Okay, well, can you remind me what it was?
Yeah, it was, one was about the roof, and the other was, about the surveillance testing.
Okay, thank you, Mark. So if there's nothing else, Laura, are you back with us?
I
Okay.
am.
Okay, we're gonna move on. I don't know if you heard Chad had a question about tracking the students once they leave our school, once they leave 6th grade, but we're gonna move into discussion of assessing equity with data. Those of you that did your homework and actually listened to the podcast, please signify so by raising your hand or saying aye.
I got a quiz, right?
Laura, did you check out the podcast? We lost her again. There is going to be a test. So Bill is going to administer a test to the board to see how well we do. Bill, I'm turning it over to you, sir.
Okay, what does the acronym LCAS stand for?
You have to call somebody, you're the teacher.
Anybody but the two administrators.
LCAS? Language?
I'll give you a hint. The A is assessment.
Learning? Give us the first couple words.
It's a tough one, Bill.
Can you give us the other 3 words?
L is local. A is assessment.
Local community assessment score?
Not bad.
Curriculum.
What'd you say, Chad?
The curriculum, my notes are in the back seat of the car, so I'm driving up 91, I apologize.
It's all right, it's not bad. All right, Tammy, what's the answer?
Local comprehensive assessment system.
And this might go a little bit to what Chad was talking about because that is the most granular detail that we systematically collect at the school level, at the district level, and at the SU level. I'll give you one more. You ready?
No, we're not doing very good. Let's not take the test anymore.
What is the name of the standards that Vermont has adopted?
Oh, come on.
Oh, I know that one.
US.
No.
Oh, that actually, because the way I phrased the question, you are correct. That's the educational quality standards. And what is the branding of the of the standards in English language arts and math that would fall under EQS, and it ends with standards?
I thought it was yes back.
That's the test to assess these standards. What is the SBAC assessing?
Well, it assesses what the students are supposed to learn through, we have because it's the same thing that the IB program is based on.
IB was one of the 5 worldwide
Right, and
systems that was.
Can I give you the acronym?
Yeah.
CCSS?
Pardon?
CCSS?
Oh, yeah, some curriculum, something.
Common Core.
Common Core.
Yeah! Laura Sabia, that's the end of the assessment period of tonight.
We all did pretty poorly,
Did I
folks.
pass? Did I pass?
You passed.
I didn't.
Marta.
I can't believe you were home with your computer and you didn't cheat.
I'm driving, dude. I'm driving.
No,
Show up there soon.
I said I didn't believe Mark, who was home, and cheat and look it up quickly.
I never cheat.
Okay. So anyways, Bill and Tammy and Matt, just give us the 5-minute overview. What should we take away from this? I mean, I believe it's something, from what I know and what I think, at least from Dover, I know we've been doing it for a number of years. To me, it seemed like it was, although I'm not good at remembering the acronyms and all those other things, it seems as though it's something you guys have been doing because you keep talking about midterm exams and, being excited about what the tests are leading you to believe. So can you guys maybe, Bill, I don't know if you had a different plan, but...
No, that's exactly what I was hoping. No, I'm going to let the on-the-ground professionals.
Rich?
Yes, Mark?
Tammy, when you speak, can you just speak into a mic?
Sure.
We can hear everybody but you.
Okay, I'll do my best.
I think that's
Thank
our
you.
pitch. Like our pitch isn't deep enough.
Well, I don't know, guys. I mean, this is my interpretation of this. If you go on to the snapshot from the video that Patrick walked you through, you'll see that the 5 domains are the 5 domains that we report on in our principal's reports every month. And the same domains that Bill reports on for his superintendent's report. So we had this training with Patrick maybe 3 or 4 years ago, maybe not that long. Bill, do you recall?
I think it was 4 years.
I want to say 4.
Yeah, and with Bill's leadership and the change of our principal's reports and the change in the superintendent's reports, all the work is focused on these 5 domains. So this is not anything new for us in the work that we're doing. These domains guide the work that we do every day, and they guide all the planning that we do. So this is a really comfortable place for the administration, for our supervisory union. The only thing that's a little bit hard, like Chad brought up, there's the weighting of the categories, in particular the graduation rate, which I had a question that came up when I watched this. I wondered if the graduation rate weighs in at 0 or if it doesn't weigh in at all, because I think that would have an impact. Bill may know the answer to that.
Yeah, it doesn't factor in if you don't have a high school.
Okay, so if it doesn't factor in, then it means the percentage of weight of the other factors is higher. So it really does mean that between ELL, which is English language learners, free reduced lunch, ELA scores on the SBAC and math scores, that a huge percentage of your score on this for an elementary school is the SBAC, ELA, and math scores, especially an elementary school with relatively low English language learner population. So it doesn't change a lot about what we're doing. It's been guiding our work for years now. I assume it will continue as long as EQS remains in play, and we will continue to, when I look at the snapshot for Dover, the numbers are really too small for the tool to apply to be useful to us. But as a district, I'm hoping that there's enough, as an SU, I'm hoping there's enough data there for us to use it as a tool to reflect on what we're doing and how we're doing it. I don't know if that's what you
So
guys
Matt, one of the things I noticed in Matt, Tammy, and Bill is, and I remember this a lot when we were asking for data, and even we wanted to know how the students did in high school, and because of the number of students and because of things that would identify students, that we as board members and we as public can't really see as much as you guys can see. So when we used to go look for this stuff, there was not a whole lot of valuable information for us. But you folks get to see kind of everything. Is that correct, or is that a misnomer?
That is correct as far as the SBAC data goes, yes.
Okay. And is there other things that you can't see that would be helpful that we can argue for you guys to be able to see? Because they showed you could go online and pick your SU, and I tried that and I couldn't get anywhere. But of course, you know me and computers, so I just didn't know. Is there any data that's there that you guys don't have access to that would be helpful for you or Bill? I don't know, even because we're a fairly small SU compared to some of the other.
Yeah, I get to see all the local comprehensive assessment system data. And I get to see all the SBAC data for every single school, whether it's less than 11 or not. But it's really about identifying trends and trying to predict how things are going, to really measure interventions, measure investments, measure structuring, measure professional development, measure how we're using our time on our half days that we're out of school and doing PD. Not to be overly simplistic, but I think River Valley's is quite set up for constantly looking at data that constantly informs how you operate the schools. Not one time a year, not waiting for an SBAC test to come and having that tell everything. When we meet every month as a leadership team, we're talking about the data from our schools and other schools and seeing what the commonalities are. So, I feel like we've worked really hard over the past 5 years to embed these as practices instead of one-offs. It's why we adopted the Educational Quality Standards 5 indicators as our monthly report, because it forces us to think at the cabinet level and think at the school level. What are we doing in these areas to support our students in our community? So I feel like we have a good system set up. I think it's a good opportunity to always be reminded of why it's set up this way, why we're providing this information to the board in the principal's reports, in the cabinet reports. But I also think it's setting the stage so that if the data started looking very, very different, the board would not be surprised about having a different conversation. We need different resources, or we need to invest in a different structure, or we need different professional development, or we need things that need to respond to the data. And I don't feel like the board has created an environment where we can have those conversations. No one's scared about having those conversations. We're always looking and thinking about what we need to do to serve our students. And that's the process that I know Tammy and Matt go through, and then we go through a whole structural conversation with the business manager to talk about what are the students' needs? What does the data say? What's happening in the buildings? What is going on, so that when we bring a budget to you all, it's gone through that process. But it's not only at that time, it's been going on year after year after year. So it's a very long-winded way to say, I think you guys are in a good spot.
Just expand on that, because Kate and I got to see it, but not everybody else does. Now, the 5I,
So just to repeat what Matt said, is that in the presentation you all saw from the Vermont Agency of Education, there's 5 indicators for the educational quality standards: the academic proficiency, personalization, safe and healthy schools, high quality staffing, and investment priorities. And this was developed in 2016, and we all received training on it in 2017. And then we got visited by an integrated field review, which looked at all of those aspects. And so then we, as a collective leadership team, said, we're going to change all of our reporting to our boards to make that embedded, so that we're constantly thinking about it and constantly holding ourselves accountable to report on it, rather than just doing it when we get visited every 3 years or the AOE wants to see how we're doing. We wanted to make it part of our practice. So when you see those principals reports, it's not pulled out of thin air. Those are based on educational quality standards and delivering those results and those outcomes for the investment that our communities are making.
you can. Mark, Chad, and Laura, any comments or questions? Go ahead, Mark.
Just a comment, and it has absolutely nothing to do with the EQS or the methodology. Just a comment for the general public, that AOE dashboard we're referring to is inordinately inaccurate. I just want people to go to it and realize that there's a lot of missing data, there's a lot of incorrect data on there. So you can't take a snapshot from it. You have to take it with a grain of salt.
Especially during COVID, if I could add that, Mark.
Yeah, I've been trying to pull data off of it for weeks now and finding it is really, Richard, it's not just you. it's a god-awful interface.
Thank you, Mark. That made me feel better. I can go home now and sleep better. Laura or Chad?
No questions for me, Rich.
Thank you, Chad. Laura, go ahead.
I'm all set, Richard.
Okay, I just one last comment. I just want to say one of the things you also have to really remember, and I remember this being stressed several times, is, and it kind of goes back to what Mark said, because it gives you that snapshot in time. And, you know, the numbers go up and down, and we've seen test scores all over the place. But you want to look for trends. And I remember at one time we were trending, you know, yeah, we had one year we went up, and then the next year we went down a little, but we weren't lower than the year before, and then we went back up. So it's also, it's not just, you can't just put every little point and get worked up about each little point. It's the overall trend on where we're moving. And I think, unfortunately, I think we're going to have a big reset, because if you really think about it, schools more or less closed in March, April of 2019. 2020. No.
Yeah.
2020, it was
2020. Okay, yes, and then we went through
2020 to 2021.
Right.
A really fun year too, and yeah.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
but it, you know, all last year was very difficult. The end of the year before was difficult. And, you know, this fall isn't seeming to be any better. And, you know, one of the things is everybody was thinking that, you know, COVID-19 was going to be eradicated like the measles, and, you know, it's looking less and less likely. It's going to, I think, be like the flu for a long time to come. So, we just need to let people know too that just when you look at it, you can't get real excited. And my last one little question, when you do your intern assessments, you know, not the SBACs, but when you do those, is there a good correlation between those and where your SBACs actually come out? And do you have to then adjust your assessments during the year? Or how does that work, and how does that relate? And we don't need an in-depth answer, just...
Well, let me frame it, and then I'll let Matt and Tammy talk about it. But so you made a really good point. There's two things. So the SBAC is an end-of-the-year summative assessment on the Common Core standards. And that's great, and it's really helpful to measure how are our students able to demonstrate the knowledge of the Common Core standard on that assessment. But that happens once a year, and it's great. But what Matt and Tammy and their colleagues do all annually and 3 times a year in big chunks is the local comprehensive assessment system, which is skill-based. So it's the building blocks of being able to learn how to learn, the scientifically developed most important building blocks of reading, the scientifically based most important building blocks of math. They're on a continuum, they build on each other. So just so you know that those are 2 separate things. One is an SBAC that is at the end of the year, that is measuring students' ability to demonstrate knowledge in the Common Core, and then you have the local comprehensive assessment system, which is particularly skill-based. But Matt and Tammy are way more in depth on this than I am.
Yeah, I would say that, and in our building, I'm sure it's consistent in Dover as well, is that we're really looking at the, you know, the benchmark assessment data that we are collecting the 3 times a year, which is the fall, the winter, and the spring. And then in addition to that, any student that might be showing a need, we dig in even deeper, and that's where we do our diagnostic assessments and determine what that student might particularly need, or certain skills that that student might be missing. And then once that's been determined, interventions are given by our academic support team or within the classroom for their core instruction. And then in addition to that, on a weekly basis or a bi-monthly basis, students are also progress monitored to see if the interventions are working. So it really is a I would say a well-oiled machine, and it really is systematic.
Matt, are you?
I have nothing to add. That was awesome. Thank you, guys.
So, just so everybody knows, Laura's not on TV anymore. She's now live and in person. Does Mark or Chad, do you have anything? We good to move on?
Good to go.
All set.
Thank you, Mark. Laura or Kate, you guys all good? Thank you, that was really good. I'm glad we did that, we covered that, so. That was, the reason I asked for that to be covered was that was brought up at the retreat, that it would be a good idea to do that. Plus, it also counts as training with our superintendent, so thank you, Bill.
You bet.
And thank you, everybody, for taking the time to watch that video. I know it may have been torture for some. The next thing Bill asked us to add the VHI proxies. So there's going to be a Board of Directors of the Vermont Health Initiative is meeting on the 5th of November in 2021. And I don't know, is there anybody going to that? Who's going to that?
Dan's not going.
Dan's not going, so we have nobody. Mark, you're not going to that, are you?
Only if it's virtual.
It is not.
Really? Okay.
So you have two options. One, you guys can send a proxy that physically goes there and votes, or you can give your proxy vote to the VHI board, or you can do nothing.
So, pardon?
Just fill out a recommendation.
Not really. I mean, if you don't give your proxy to the VHI board,
We got it anyways.
it's going to happen. I don't think there's going to be a lot of people from the south driving up there, and I don't think the rates are set. It's not. It has not come to my attention through my professional organization that there is some major thing that needs to occur on November 5th.
And there's actually two. There's one for the health and one for the dental. So,
Rich?
Yes, Mark?
Because Chad is new, you want to explain what VHI is?
Sure. Bill will explain what VHI is, Chad, if you have any questions.
So here's the quick answer. It's our consortium that provides our dental and our health care to our employees.
Just give it to Dan.
And it is bargained not at the local level, but at the state level. And they have a board of directors that oversees that arrangement. And basically they provide the administration for the purchase of those services. Currently, right now, those are done through Blue Cross Blue Shield for health, and I don't even know, Delta Dental, is it Delta Dental? And Delta Dental for dental.
I think Mark, or Chad, I'm sorry. Is he good?
Yeah.
So I don't, Kate's looking at it, reading it right now, but I think in the past we used to give it to Dan MacArthur for the last several years because he was going up and he's not going up this year. So I think our choice is either we can send somebody up if somebody wants to go. If nobody wants to go, I think we can just, basically the board is going to do what the board's going to do, whether we give them our proxy or not. So my feeling would be at this time, since we don't have anybody going, that we just not send the proxy up and just let it lay. Mark, you're good with that. Chad?
That makes good sense. I think I would have to consider the amount, they feel about the coverage they're getting, and if, there is concern that we can voice on their behalf. But otherwise, I think it would sound fine to me.
Okay. Mark?
So I just want to make sure that we're all aware that there's a difference between VHI and VISBIT.
Correct.
Yes, VISBIT.
Yeah.
VHI is the health, dental and health, and VISBITs are like liability and other insurances. We're just doing VHI though.
I'm getting the acronyms wrong. Okay, they're not the ones that are determining the policies. The policies. They're administering what the state commission, or in this case, what will end up being an arbitrator, decides the policy will be.
Yeah, it's more of a agreement. It's a collective bargaining agreement, not a policy. But your point is well taken, Mark. Yes, these guys are not the ones that are negotiating. There's a team.
So Laura, you good? If we just pass, you good?
Pass.
Pass.
Pass. Good.
Okay.
Good call.
Good job, guys. Yes,
Hey, Rich, if we could pause the meeting for a minute, we have a cord here that Galen thinks will extend this, but it's going to turn the audio off for a minute. Is that okay?
Yeah. Hey, everybody, don't get nervous. You're not going deaf.
Where would you like it?
Okay, so let's move forward. We covered all the old business and the policies. Yeah. No, he wanted that under old business.
Okay.
So anyways, moving right along, thank you for that little delay. Just everybody, I want to note that the BCTV guy has done a lot of talking tonight. We have to speak to his boss about that. No, you're doing a great job. Thank you, buddy. Are we all good? School update during COVID. I mean, we kind of reviewed that a little bit already in the principal's report. Is there anything else? Anybody in, Kate and Laura? You guys good?
Yes, I'm good.
You good, Kate?
As good as I can be.
Okay, Mark or Chad? Mark's good. Chad, you good?
Yep, I'm all set, thank you.
Any of our parents or staff on World Wide Web? Zoom, whatever?
All set, thank you.
Welcome, Trish.
I have a question.
Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I know last year with COVID, you guys weren't able to do the ski school programs the same way. Do you guys know what you're doing this year with them?
Ooh, I like that question.
Good question.
That was Mount Snow, though, that really didn't allow it. So have we heard from Mount Snow yet?
Just over the weekend, we got our initial email. There is a questionnaire that they would like us to fill out, and we're setting up, we're going from it there, I guess.
We're hopeful
Yes.
that it'll happen again.
Thank you.
So I know that the Mount Snow supplies passes to some of the emergency services, and we had to sign like a waiver, and we had to submit our COVID policy for the business. So there may be some questions like that for you. I don't know if that's what you guys got, the same thing, but.
Yeah, the PASS program went out a couple of weeks ago, so they're reviewing that paperwork, and yes, they did ask for COVID policies. So that should go home to families soon. And then the ski program is obviously separate because it's a different department. So, but we have been in touch for both, so
Okay.
it's in the works.
That was your question. I'm sorry. Anything else? You all good? Okay.
Thank you.
Everybody heard that. It was a question about the ski program at Mount Snow.
Oh, do
I
you know?
couldn't understand it.
Okay, so we had a question from somebody in the audience about if there was going to be a ski program this year like there had been in years past, but not last year. And Tammy reported that, did you hear Tammy's comments?
Not very well, thank you.
Okay, so Tammy just commented that they got some paperwork over the weekend and they're filling it out, and they hope to know more in the next few weeks. Is that okay, Peter? Would it make sense if we push things closer to the mic?
You're doing great.
Tammy, was there any indication on if the ski program, with the instruction moves forward, what days of the week might transpire for Dover and Wardsboro?
So that was actually part of the survey, is they gave us, I think they're only running the program Monday through Thursday for the upcoming season, so Friday was out.
So they're kind of surveying schools and seeing
Right.
what they have for availabilities. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Peter, did you get that okay? I think he said fine.
Thumbs up or thumbs down? So-so.
Well, so, the question was, what was the day of the week? And the answer is that Thursdays and Fridays are out.
Just Friday.
Just Fridays are out. So you're gonna that was part of the survey, and then you'll get when you know what day is gonna be good, then everybody will be notified.
Correct.
Okay, good, Peter?
Oh, Dana
Just
has
give
a
us a
question.
thumbs up, and then I'll go to Dana.
This is very complicated. So I'm guessing there's a survey going on to find out if Thursday or Friday will work?
No, Fridays are out, and there's a survey going to the administrators to determine which is gonna be a day that can fit in with Mount Snow, okay?
Oh, got it. Thank you.
More to come. Dana, go ahead.
So I was meeting with the Dover School Club, the Parent Association, and I was under the impression that the ski program was very heavily dependent upon parent participation.
Yes.
So is the program going to go forward whether or not parents participate?
So just some history is that the school used to run the program 30 years ago, and we made some major changes to the program because we had all our staff out for, at that time, it was 3 months for half a day. It was the equivalent of quite a few days. So what happened was the parents took over running the program, and then while the program is operating, the staff does extra in-service days, and that was kind of the beginning of the turnaround for the Dover school anyways. So yes, I would say that it's going to require parental support if they want to have the program. Usually that's something administration deals with. That's nothing that we really take care of as a board. We just support the administration and the staff however we can to make it happen, because everybody feels it's an important program and that it should, the home of Mount Snow doesn't allow skiing. It just seems a little off. So, does that answer?
I agree and I totally support, and I'm going to volunteer if I'm needed. Actually, I was talking to a lady, a lady who's my age, who went to Dover Elementary School, and she said they went to the mountain 2 days a week. I said, I'm going to bring that up to the board.
No, it was never.
One day.
It was never 2 days a week. Maybe if that person is really, really old, but since 1985, I've only known it to be 1/2 a day. And actually, Matt will tell you, because Matt and I both went to Leland and Gray, and it was one afternoon. Tammy was there too.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah, so I think since the 70s or 80s, it was always one afternoon. Now, in the old days, Dover used to they had a lot more variety. You could go to the bowling alley, to the North Star Bowl. There was swimming up at Timber Creek. There was ice skating somewhere, I don't remember where. And there was cross-country skiing that was available. What we did was when we made some changes and there was less participation at the other activities, what happened was we did the skiing program, but we also, for those who didn't want to ski, the parents also set up an in-school like enrichment program, but we haven't done that in a few years.
Not in my time.
Not since Matt's been there. Bill did it, no. So before Bill, I taught a first aid class one time. A parent came in, they did a cooking class. Another parent, they built birdhouses. So that could be an option too for those that don't want to ski. I guess those who don't ski just get a half a day off.
Okay, well, I just wanted to ask, about the program and whether we were doing it with or without the parents, and so I'm going to start rallying support as far as the parents go, and hopefully it's thumbs up for this year.
Yeah, definitely check with Matt. It's not a board function, so it's an administrative function. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your participation.
Well, and I think the school clubs kind of do a lot of the volunteer wrangling and things like
Yes.
that. That's
Very cool.
my recollection as a parent, that they've asked for volunteers,
Yeah.
so.
So Peter, she's saying that the school clubs have done a lot in the past for participation in helping the program run. That was Kate's recollection from being in Wardsboro also. Okay, so. Pardon?
Are you good?
Oh, okay. Sorry, you gotta yell at me occasionally. I think, waiting study task force update. Mark, you wanna talk about that, or Laura? Am I probably yelling now?
I can't see Laura.
Go ahead, Mark.
Two things. One, as an FYI, the task force canceled their meeting that was supposed to be held on Wednesday, saying they need more time to analyze data. And I sent out a short update that was shared with the Rutland City Public Schools board, which I think is pretty good, which is why I shared it.
Hey, Mark, is it okay, because if you brought it up, we really should
I think I sent it out.
attach it. Is it in the back of this one? This here? Yeah. Is it okay if I'm gonna give that to the press.
Yeah.
Okay.
I assumed it was part of the package.
No, it is. It's at the back of the package. Laura, do you have any?
We are at a pivotal moment for the off session. You know, I think this won't be done until, you know, hopefully it'll be done the end of this year, but we are at a pivotal moment right now.
Peter, Laura said we're at a pivotal moment right now. She's hoping it'll all be done this year, but it's a very pivotal moment.
The task force has come out with their first recommendation, which is not receiving a lot of love, and it's anticipated that they're coming back with their next set of recommendations, which are suspected to be not awesome, but you don't know until they're out. And as you know, has been said, this meeting was canceled last minute today, so we'll see.
Peter, did you hear that okay? Okay. Mark, was that good? Could you hear it?
Yeah, a little soft, but I could hear it. And I will repeat that any and everybody out there is welcome to come to coalition meetings where we discuss a lot of this in great detail. In fact, the two chairs are going to be joining us on Thursday. If anybody would like to see what they have to say.
The chair?
The co-chairs.
Oh, the co-chairs. Okay.
The co-chairs of the task force.
Thank you, Mark. And if anybody wants to know, Mark, give us the website quick that they can go find out how to get online and look.
It's CVTSE.org.
Okay, thank you. If there's nothing more on that, I'm sorry. The next item is next steps, long-term planning research project. And one of the things we're looking for is community feedback. This kind of got put on the back burner for a little bit because we had some more pressing issues like trying to open a school while COVID wasn't gone, which we were all hoping it would be. So Bill sent out a little later than the original, but it is in the packet, I believe.
The minutes from August 2nd, page 2, next steps, and then the accompanying
Graph.
So
basically, at the August meeting, we picked 3 items, 3 scenarios that we wanted Bill to do some follow-up. They were 5, 8, and 9. And 5, 8, and 9 are, number 5 was primary and common. Number 8 was a middle school at Wardsboro. Number 9 was a new building for pre-K through 6. And then it was suggested that we also do 2 and 13. And number 2 was pay Vermont high school average tuition, and 13 was designate BUHS. And so I think our next step is we'll ask Bill in the next month or so if he can work with the administration to put together some type of survey. We can survey the public and parents on what they think of these scenarios. I think Kate had made, and I don't remember where I saw it, Kate had made a comment that we really need to stress that this is long-term, this is to prepare us if stuff happens. Ms. Wright, I know the importance of emphasizing hypothetical and long-term in all the discussions, so we just need to make sure that is in whatever we send out. So other than that, is there any more discussion or comments? I don't think, will you bring to the board the survey before you send it out?
Yes, so I will work with Tammy and Matt. I'm envisioning a debrief of the process, where the board landed, and some sort of Google form to collect some feedback, with this document being available to review. So just kind of saying the board dove into this research project, this is where they landed, here's the scenarios they investigated, the ones in yellow are the ones that they're particularly interested in the feedback, along with 2 and 13 for these particular reasons. We're interested in hearing feedback from the community. And then I'll just need to think about how we're going to get that publicly out to beyond the school world, to citizens of Dover and Warrensburg. So, yeah, I would appreciate if you give us some time. We're going through all the WCSU budgets right now, maybe if we shot for November 15th for a draft for the board to kind of say, looks good, that would be appreciated.
Everybody, go ahead, Laura.
What's the target for mailing, or not mailing, for getting this out? I guess it's in my hand.
That's what he just said, though. He's not sure how it...
So, yeah, I just wonder if we can combine it with some sort of mailing, because with COVID, I mean, people are so isolated and...
So we will be mailing out our annual report.
Yeah,
I was going to say that might be the time to do a little blurb and put it out with the annual report. So can everybody hear that?
So
Laura,
make a page.
Laura was thinking of how we're going to get it out. So the idea is if we get it approved in the middle of November, the budget will have to be decided. We're going to review budget, but that could go out with budget time. And then it can also be an item of discussion at the annual meeting at the end of March. Is that good with everybody?
Yeah, that timeline works.
That's a smart time. That's good public participation.
And mailing rates are going up yet again.
They just went up.
Oh, okay, then we get okay, maybe it's halfway. It's in the summer, but the Postal Service is doing multiple steps a year. It's ridiculous.
Okay.
It's crazy.
We're talking about mailing rates, Peter. They're going up, so that was the comment that Kate was making. Go ahead, Mark.
2 things. 1, Kate, we can't hear you anymore. And 2, so the annual report would contain the link to the survey for people to take, correct? Is that what I'm hearing?
Or a survey, I don't know yet. It's still a work in progress.
But that's the kind of thinking we're going to want on November 15th.
Well, you're going to get us a survey.
Yeah, but what Mark's talking about is how to get it out to.
Right, but that won't come. That won't happen until Mark. We won't have to determine that till we get closer to when we have to mail out the report, and we can make that decision at that time.
But the report will contain what there's actual. If we're talking about figuring out how to get it out, and the report's the medium for it will either contain the survey itself that people could mail back in, I guess, or a link to it.
Right, we'll determine that when we determine the report. It's nothing we have to decide right now. Is that okay?
Yeah, so we're not deciding which method, but the report will contain something.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Chad, you okay? Oh, he may be in a dead spot. You all set?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's perfect.
No, not you. I was looking at a report. Are you all set now, Bill? Okay, we're gonna move along, guys. River Valley Learning Academy for Thanksgiving break. So we just threw you guys a curveball because we gave everybody a day off during your learning break.
So we've surveyed some surveys have gone out so far. We're still collecting data to see if there's enough interest from families at this point. So we've got some good data so far, pretty small response at this point. We thought we'd give it probably another week to collect with another reminder and see what we have at the end of the week.
Really a small response so far? That's a bummer. Like,
Fairly small.
I'm surprised that
Yeah.
I can nudge people and remind them
Yeah,
too.
and we'll send out another reminder this week and just send the link again and try to see what kind of interest there is before we go too loud.
So it could be though that because of the travel restrictions last year, a lot more families may be leaving or traveling, so.
Could be.
So basically Kate was gonna nudge some people to respond. And I think you'll just let us know in the next principals report at the beginning of November. There's nothing we need to do for you folks, so you folks, if you decide to do it, you're all set. You don't need anything from us.
I guess it's the only thing that we need again. I'll reiterate the staffing piece. We need people to be able to accommodate the need.
Yeah, at this point, we're sort of running it as part of the after-school program. So we've got, there may be some staffing, but we're trying to find licensed teacher to run the academic piece, which may be harder to find that during breaks. But we thought we should start with interest first and demand, see what kind of demand there is. So far the responses, they would like busing services and food, so it's becoming a larger scale project, and those may be barriers that we have to get around, but we'll see what the response looks like.
So just as, I'm sorry, you all set?
Oh, I was gonna ask a related but not super on topic thing. I was gonna check in about the after-school programs too with the two different schools, because I know that those have been really challenging this year, and if you could give us some update on what those are like this year.
Okay, can we hold that? Let's finish up this
Okay,
topic
yep.
and then we'll go to that. I had one quick comment, is that something's better than nothing though, so if it winds up being that you can only maybe do Monday, or maybe Monday, Wednesday, or maybe Monday, Tuesday, I mean, I think that's better than nothing too, so if we need to cut back, but if we then can maybe do the lunch or stuff, because if people are requesting food, I know there's still a lot of stuff out there about food insecurity. I shouldn't say a lot of stuff. There's a lot of, talk about that and a lot of concern about that. So that's something we should really be keeping track of too, because it is the holidays and it may be tough for people. So is everybody good on the Learning Academy for Thanksgiving break? Okay,
So, yeah, I have a question.
go ahead.
Do we
Be
have a
loud.
minimum? So do we have a minimum to run this?
We haven't set a minimum.
Okay, so,
Are you thinking of a minimum?
no. So what I'm thinking is, we don't have a staff person yet. It's coming right up. We don't have a minimum. And I would like us, so what happens if we have, if we have 5 kids that want to do it and we don't have a staff person? Do we say no? Or is it going to fall, so my interest and where I'm going with this, Matt and Tammy, is let's make sure we understand like the ROI, I mean, it's additional stress on our system. And so, what are we doing to protect our system here? Like, do we have kind of a cost benefit that we've worked out in terms of time and,
How about on November 1st, we'll make a recommendation, go, no go, and why?
that sounds great, Bill.
Yeah.
Does that
Well,
work for everybody? That sounds really great.
No, I don't think you need to make a recommendation. I think the decision is your folks. We're not gonna tell you whether you go or not. You guys just will let us know, because
Yes.
it's not our decision.
Good.
We had discussed it.
Great.
If they can do it, they thought it was a good idea.
Yes.
So they were willing to try it.
Yeah.
They're just gonna let us know that they were able to accomplish it or they weren't.
For
Yeah.
November
And-
1st, we will inform you whether it's go, no go.
Great, and I would just ask you to really weigh, the whole way around and make sure that, our system, that we're not causing any additional extraordinary stress on our system for a very small effect.
And I think we were really riding on the coattails of the success that we had this summer.
Sure.
And hopeful that we could carry that on throughout
Sure.
the school year.
Of course.
So, when we
And
talked
but
about
I
it.
also think it's an important thing because, one of the things I remember hearing from almost day one being on the board is the progress always seemed to go back, and that staff, even after a short vacation of 3 to 5 days, felt like they almost took a week to get back on track. So, I think it's definitely, there may be more stress on the system if we can't pull it off.
Understood.
But I think, I'm not a teacher, I'm gonna let them tell us what they can do and what they can't. And I'm sure if it was not a good idea, or if it was too much, they would have told us that.
I hope so. I'm just worried about capacity. That's what I'm worried about.
So that was a really good conversation. Is everybody okay on the school, on the Thanksgiving break?
The Learning Academy.
Learning Academy, thank you, Kate. If everybody is, Kate had a follow-up that was similar but not exactly the same. So Kate asked about the after-school programs.
At each school and, just an update on what's going on with each of them.
Do you want to go first? So we have hired a laughter coordinator for the Wardsboro building. Her name is Bronwyn Sims. We are struggling with coming up with people to run programs. So we are hopeful, starting in November and December, to run a program just 2 days a week, 2 days of programming for students. That's the intention.
Okay.
And we have a coordinator that we've had on staff for many years who is coordinating again this year. We were not able to find any program directors.
Matt, hang on a second.
Sure.
Peter, you can't hear anything?
No, I lost the last part of the conversation. It's just unintelligible.
Okay, so Tammy is gonna take her mask off for a second. She's gonna yell at you, so hang on.
Okay, I'll start from the beginning. We have secured a laughter coordinator for the Wardsboro building, which is fantastic. Her name is Bronwyn Sims. We are hoping to get programming up and running for the month of November and December for 2 days a week. We have been challenged by finding program leaders. Did you catch that, Peter? Was that better? Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. And then Matt is gonna speak about Dover, folks.
Peter, can you hear me okay? Can you give me a thumbs up? Good. So very similar scenario in Dover. We're running 2 days a week. Our coordinator is running the program as the instructor and guide. It would be nice to have a broader program, but again, we tried to advertise for program leaders and we didn't receive any responses. So we're hoping that might change. We'll continue to look for people as the year goes on. Maybe after the new year, people might be more interested in coming out and running a program for a few weeks. So we're hopeful for that. In the meantime, we will continue to make the best with what we have and do the 2 days a week.
Are you all set, Kate?
I am, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Peter. Is there any comments, questions from anybody? I just want to acknowledge that Chad is no longer on the phone because he just blew into the place. So thank you for showing up, Chad, getting here. So hail, the gang's almost all here. If there's nothing else on the Learning Academy and the after-school stuff, which sounds like that's still doing very well for you guys, which I'm glad. Let's go to Mark. You wanted to discuss the website RFP. Now, who knows what RFP stands for? That's the quiz.
Request for proposal.
Okay, so Mark, it's all you.
So the RFP closed today. A slew of proposals came in. I have not had a chance to even count them yet at this point. But I'm guessing, Bill, you can correct me if I'm wrong, we probably have north of 20 total.
Easy.
Wow.
What was that?
No, they said wow, they're very happy.
I'd like to ask for, I don't know if anybody's in the audience, but if there's anybody in the audience or any board members to join Kate and I in reviewing them, because it is going to be a tremendous amount of work. I'd like to split it up amongst multiple people.
Mark, I would have one little concern with that. And the reason is like, yeah, I'll help you out. You ain't gonna get much out of me that's gonna be logical. And then I'm concerned that, like, if you say you gave me a couple, there may be the best proposal that I'm looking at, and I say, Mark, there's nothing here that's worth anything. I would really like, and I know you got a lot of stuff going on, but I'd like somebody with some technical background to review it. Or some way to make sure we don't drop something through the cracks. So I don't know how we do that, if you have any thoughts.
Yep, the score sheet that we have would protect any sort of failure like that. It would get caught. The score sheet is a layman's way of reviewing the proposal.
So if that's the case, Mark, you have 6 board members. So if every board member took 3, filled out the score sheet and got it back to you, then that may be good, because then all the board members would have some idea when you bring it up. Would that work for you?
That absolutely would work.
Does anybody have a problem? Or we could just volunteer Dwight since he isn't here.
Sold.
I'd like to see us volunteer Dwight to do we know exactly how many there are?
I would say it's between 20 and 25.
So 3 to 4 each. Is that okay? Does that work?
Yep.
Mark, why don't you work with Bill and Kate to assign them to us? And if you can get them to us by the end of the week, how long do you think it's going to take to review the 3 or 4 each of us has to do?
I haven't even looked at them, so I don't know. I don't know how long they are. My guess would be if you devoted one evening to it, skipped watching the evening news, which is bad news anyway, and then read the proposals, you'd probably be finished.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to suggest, and you guys tell me if it's okay, that Mark divvy them up, Mark and Kate and Bill divvy them up.
Bill doesn't. Bill's done.
Yeah, no,
Bill collected them and got them.
Well, you have to give them to him.
No, he's got them.
Oh, he's got them. Okay, Mark, you just deal with it. Get them to us. Something happened. Are we all good?
Yeah, we just.
Okay. And then Bill, Mark, if anybody can't get them done so we would have, if we get them by the end of the week, if you can't get them done by Halloween, then let me know and get them back to me, and I'll try to figure it out with Mark and Kate how we go finish them up.
And I think what we'll do is, and I don't have the number off the top of my head, I'd have to look at the score sheet again. We'll have a minimum number that will trigger Kate and I to review it a final time.
So, Mark, we made this yours and Kate's little project, so you don't have to run it by the board. I think you guys just decide which ones you want to bring to us to be reviewed. If you could bring 2 or 3 to the board, then, or 3 or 4, whatever you think is appropriate. There should be at least 3, though. I think usually it's good to review 3 bids at the board level if we're gonna award a bid. Do you think that's doable?
Honestly, no.
Okay, so what do you want to bring, just one?
I think we'll want to narrow it down to 1 at 2 at most.
No, at least 3.
Okay, hang on a second,
If we
Mark.
have 25.
So let's just poll straw the board. Kate, what do you think? How many would you like to see for us to review?
I'm gonna go with Schoolhouse Rock and say 3 is the magic number.
Nice quote.
Really? I don't get that, but Laura, hang on one sec. 3, Chad.
I concur with 3 as well.
Mark, how many?
What was that?
So, how many do you think you'd like to just do 2 or 1?
If you're talking about bringing them to the board to decide on, yeah, 2 or 1. Otherwise, you're talking about an entire meeting to go over them.
Okay. Most everybody's looking for 3. I think if you can get them out before the meeting, if we can get them out before the meeting, so maybe if we shorten our deadline a little bit so that everybody can have them to look at, and we do our homework again like we did with Bill's Jeopardy question stuff. I think maybe that would be the route to go. Chad?
Rich, I mean, and Mark, not knowing the scoring sheet and how that works out, I mean, if we, out of 25, we wind up with, 3 or, 4 or 5 that are, a 10, if that's the maximum number, then I think we need to really suss those out collectively. And definitely, as Rich has said, I think we can review those prior to. But, if we are not scoring them, as we score, if there's only 1 or 2 that are reaching that top tier, then I think we could collectively say that we only have 2 that are really contenders for what we have going on. So I think the scoring should almost help to dictate how many we ultimately discuss, as a group.
Yeah, Mark, there's got to be at least 2, because if there's only 1 presented to the board, then the board's not making a decision. The decision's already made. So if you can make sure we get at least 2, I like Chad's idea. If you, and I don't know how you're planning on doing this scoring sheet, but if there's a numerical number like, 20, and you've got 3 that are in the 20s, that's fine. If you only have 1 that's in the 20s, you can explain that and say, hey, look, I had 1 in the 20s, but everybody else scored them as 1s. Then I guess I understand having only 1 because it's like that one rose to the top. But if they're in a cluster close,
Yeah, I want to be really clear. I am not happy to have just 1 come to the board.
okay, so Mark, it's going to be a minimum of 2 coming to the board. How's that, everybody? And if there is a cluster, I think we should get to review the cluster as a board. And if it takes a whole meeting, it's going to take the meeting.
It's a big public investment, and it's going to be a big public front-facing. So it's a big endeavor. If this is, everybody is maxed, so if we need to space out this time to make sure that there's enough time and not overburden people, but, yeah, if we get a huge response.
Yeah, even if there are 2, we have to understand why 1 is being chosen as compared to the rest.
Yeah, so Mark, the other thing is we can have almost the whole meeting for that. There's not a lot coming up in that first meeting in November. And the other thing is, I don't think anything says we have to make that decision the first, at that meeting. We could, if we can't get through them all, we can push it off to the second meeting. But I think if everybody does their homework, it should be okay. So let's just see how it goes. And you and I can talk, and if you're saying there's only 1 and you can, justify it, we'll see what happens that night. Mark there. Hello?
Yep. Yeah.
So,
Can you hear me?
I feel like
Yes.
I feel like it's not actually like what. So I keep hearing like bringing 1 forward, maybe okay, and I really don't want to dig in on this. It doesn't seem like a big thing to dig in on. So are we all on the same page that bringing 1 forward is not actually okay?
No, my feeling is that as we as a group I'll give every 19 of them a 1, and then we have one that's got 100. I think it's pretty easy to explain. We did our due diligence.
Yeah.
Nobody scored it higher than a 1, and he only had the 1. Why waste our time looking at all the 1s? Because we've already kind of discarded them. So I think it's going to have to rely on what Mark's using for the score sheet. I think we can all get a better feel when we're going through it. I think if there's a cluster at the top of 3 or 4, we may have to bring more to it, unless, Mark, is there going to be like certain things that are going to just eliminate is there anything that would just eliminate a bidder? And if there is, those aren't going to go to the board. When you first look at them, if there's something that's totally missing, you'll just eliminate them out of being reviewed, correct? Or not?
I mean, if we're talking about, 50 or 100 page proposal, I'm not reading every word. But there are requirements in the RFP that if they're not met, then the proposal's not going to come up for discussion. But it will still have to be graded. So we know that it hasn't met the requirements.
Okay, so Mark, when are you going to do your review? When are you going to go through them and decide which ones are going to be distributed to the board?
I'll organize them tomorrow.
Okay, why don't you give me a holler after you go through them with Kate, or discuss it with Kate, and let me know how many there are, and then we'll make a decision, Laura. Let's see what it is. When he goes through it, there may be, was there exceptions to the bid section?
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
A lot of times you'll have a bid where, like when we bid trucks and buildings and stuff, we'll say, you have to, this has to be the minimum, but you can take an exception to the bid. You can say, well, we don't offer lights on a truck, so we can't give you headlights. And then that will just exclude that person right away. They took too many exceptions to the bid. Did you have a spot for exceptions?
No, but the list of requirements is pretty extensive.
And is there a summary that they met? Do they have to somewhere state they meet all the requirements in the bid document? No.
We did not require that.
Okay, so it's not going to be an easy thing to look through these. So this may take more than a meeting to decide on then.
Well, we won't know until we go through
Right.
these. So I think the first step, let's just break down the first couple steps. Like the first step is that we'll get a list together. We'll, make a list of all the things, and then Mark and I can group up on Wednesday or something and just kind of like, all right, like, do these ones, the ones that we're moving forward to the board, do they meet the basic requirements of having like the key elements, and then we'll kind of assign them out from there and give everybody a deadline and before the next meeting to do that.
Mark, did you hear all that?
I heard enough of it. Remember that when we sent out the RFP the first time, we got, I don't remember, it was 8 or 10 or 12 responses, and there was only one that was even worth discussing. Combination of price and qualifications. So I'm not going to, if we have 25, there may be one, there could be 25 that are worth talking about.
Okay, so why don't you guys determine that and get back to me, and then we'll figure out how we deal with it from there. What?
Okay, so are we talking about doing an initial screen?
Yeah, let Mark and Kate do an initial screening.
We'll do an inventory and make sure they meet the requirements. If they don't meet the requirements, they will be.
Why waste our time?
We'll take them off the list. If they meet the requirements, then we'll move it forwards and we'll circulate.
And if there's only one that meets requirements, then we can discuss that one as a group. And I just don't, I think if you can just summarize, these all didn't meet the requirements because of whatever, then.
Yeah, I mean, so may I, Rich?
Yeah.
So, my understanding was we were gonna just divvy it up and send it out, which was part of my concern about only bringing one forward, because we've got an inconsistent review, no matter what the sheet says, and then coming back and just having, one brought forward from multiple potentially inconsistent reviews concerns me, which is why I would have wanted a larger pool. If we have 2 people that are reviewing all of them and then coming forward, that is a different set for me. So I'm not sure that I understand what the process is.
So it sounds like the process, we've changed the process to now Mark and Kate are going to review first and then divvy up for board members to score. And then after the scoring is done, we'll decide which are brought to us collectively to discuss, to decide which ultimately wins the bid for this project.
That wasn't what I was intending. My intention was almost the opposite of that. That we would divvy them up for scores.
Right.
And then Kate and I would review the ones that met the minimum score, whatever value we set that at. And then bring to the board whatever makes sense.
Okay, so here's the problem then. I don't think we can, I don't think we're gonna be able to make a decision November, the first meeting in November, because I think there's just too many free radicals. So I'm gonna make.
I don't think there are, Rich. I think we just aren't.
Okay,
I
so
think we just don't
then
have agreement.
make a motion on how you want to deal with this, because I'm confused then.
So I'm
don't know
confused
where we're
too.
going.
I'm confused too, because we
Right.
start saying one thing and then we start saying something else.
Okay,
So what Mark is saying,
so hang on, Mark, tell us what you want to do.
What I'd like to do is I will take a very quick look through them and make sure that there aren't any that stand out as being garbage, not worth looking at. I will then divide it up amongst the 6 of us, right, essentially an equal number, with the score sheet for each one. You guys, we will all score them. Then they will come back to Kate and I, and we will review at a minimum score value. We will review all of them and decide which ones to bring to the board.
Okay. Kate, will Kate review them with you before you send them out? So you and Kate will do a cursory review of them, you'll divvy them up, and then you and Kate will review what we send back to you.
Yeah, I'll send you the link, Kate, you can run through them.
Yep.
Okay.
great.
Are you good with that?
I understand that process.
Okay.
And then we come back to the original question, which is how many come to the board?
I
Okay.
think that will depend on how many.
Yeah. So I would like to recommend that we bring more than one.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Okay, so Mark, more than one needs to come back to the board. Does that
Okay.
work?
But we can even go, Mark, just think of it like this too, like if we have 3 that, you know, they might not all be equal footing, but like a platinum level of service, a gold level of service, and a silver level of service. But we can bring those different levels to the board for everybody to kind of weigh in and make a decision
Or
on.
just bring them and
Bring them
say,
in-
we
in
recommend
bulk.
this
Yeah.
for these reasons. Here's the top 3, we recommend this for these reasons.
Well,
You know what I
actually,
mean?
you know what, can't we just, if we're gonna all do the score sheet, you can just give us a score sheet. Here's the top scoring one, and here's the bottom scoring one, here's where they fit in, huh?
We were so close, Richard.
Okay, then we're just, do whatever they just said, because I'm lost and I'm confused. I'm dazed and confused. I think it was a
All
movie
right, all
or.
right.
Okay, do you want a motion?
No, we don't need a motion, what are we doing? Laura, tell us what we're doing.
We're doing what they just said,
Okay,
and they're gonna bring back more than one.
is everybody good with that? Peter, did you get that, what we're doing?
I was afraid you'd ask me that.
I wrote it down as we went through.
Okay.
Chad Starro!
Chad's gonna read it out to us.
Here, step 1, Kate and Mark are going to review for initial satisfaction. Those that they're satisfied with, they will divvy to the board for scoring. Then they will take our scores and decide which 2 or more than 2
Whatever they like.
will
More than
come
one.
to the board for a final decision after that.
More than one has to come to the board. Mark, is that your understanding and you good with that?
Yeah, we'll bring more than one to the board.
Okay. Chad, you're okay with that?
That sounds fair.
Laura?
I'm great with that, and if more time is needed, happy to hear that as well.
Yeah, we can, nothing says we have to award it right away.
Yes.
You good
Yes.
with that? Okay, that's what we're gonna do, Mark. We got a decision. in spite of me.
But along with you.
No, I was not sure. So anyways, thank you, Mark, for walking,
Yes.
for walking this or overseeing this and bringing this to fruition. I know you spent a lot of time over a lot of years
Yes.
doing this, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Mark.
Kate, for being
Thank
part
you,
of it.
Kate.
Okay, budget timeline was added. So in your handout, there's a budget timeline for WCSU. So we're gonna meet with the,
It's after this guy, it's after the colorful chart in your
oh,
packet.
Ken may not, you may give his away.
Okay,
Here, give him this. Okay.
There's a whole packet here.
Oh. So anyways, for WCSU 1026, we meet with the officers meet with the superintendent for compensation draft budget. On 11/3, we meet, we have a super board meeting for super and special education and compensation for a budget vote. And then for River Valleys, if you turn the page, of 10/4 through 11/15 is the budget planning at the administrative level. Did we lose Matt? Oh, sorry. First draft presented 12/6. Expense budget, building, capital, transportation, fund balances, and FY22 outlook. Then we'll have budget meetings in January and in February, but by February 21st, we have to approve the budget. And we'll also have, Mark, that's where we'll have to get that book together, and that's where we'll put the stuff we were talking about earlier together to go out. And then we have two budget info meetings. We'll be meeting in Dover this year. So we'll have one in Wardsboro, and then we'll just do one in Dover at a regular meeting. And then the annual meeting budget vote is March 29th, 2022. I did just, out of curiosity, so last year, because of the state of emergency, the Secretary of State's office, we had some movement that we could make some changes if we wanted to. So we were able to have the meeting at the end of May, which really helped us a lot because by then the excess spending penalty was gone. We had better numbers. We finally got the audit completed from the last year of Dover. But I just did ask because again, you know, one of the things Mark and I have had a lot of conversations about is, you know, what's going on with COVID, you know, how are we going to have a meeting? We're still wearing masks or not. So our school district clerk felt that we could have a special school district meeting if we wanted to push it off into April or May again. So I think let's just, we don't need to make a decision now, but let's just kind of keep that in the back of our minds that we have the ability to, and we may want to push it off a little bit more, especially depending on what happens in legislature too, and with the waiting study, and if there's changes, sometimes it gives us the ability to make a better budget, to have more real numbers versus just imaginary numbers or placeholders until we know what's going on. So are there any questions about the budget timeline? Mark, you good? Okay, Peter, you got all that?
Yes, most of it. That was kind of a surprise.
What was the surprise?
Said he got it.
Oh, you got it. Wow, I'm really having a bad one. Okay, guys, moving along. If we have nothing else, Mark, oh, go ahead.
The policies?
Yeah, no, that's, so Mark and Kate, you want to lead us through these policies?
I have a question. Mark, can we group some of these? Can we do a group of reviewed all at once, and then can we do a group of warning and adopting all at once? Like, are we able to cluster?
It may be confusing.
Yeah, we could,
It might be
we could
easier.
put, B1, B7, and F1 together.
Yep.
Bingo!
So I would like to make a motion that we put B1, B7, and F1 for the policies, and we bring them forward to have the board, that we recommend that the board marks them as reviewed.
So moved.
No, she moved it.
Oh, seconded.
Okay, so we have a motion by Kate and a second by Laura that policy F1, B7, and B1, substituting teachers B1, tobacco prohibition B7, and travel reimbursement F1 have been reviewed by the board and stand as they are. So is there any discussion?
Just quickly, there are no changes to B1 and B7. F1, just as an FYI, WCSU recently voted to warrant the same policy.
Okay, but no changes to ours.
Correct, no changes to ours.
Right. Okay. Chad, you all good, sir? Yep. Okay, if you're all ready to vote, all those in favor say aye.
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 It appears as though the ayes have it.
Okay, and
The
then,
ayes have it. Oh, sorry.
oh, go for it.
No, go.
Okay, and then I would like to move that the policy committee recommends that we warn and adopt policy B2, D5, and D6. We would also like to do the same with B22, but we would like to renumber that one under the new conventions.
So why don't we hold that one
Okay,
separate?
so we'll hold that one separate.
Okay, so you're moving B2, D5, and D6,
Second.
class size. What?
Second.
So B2, starting with volunteers and work study students. D5, which is the animal dissection policy. And then D6, the class size policy. We would like to
Move that they be warned.
move that they be warned. They did have some minor changes that are noted in the agenda, including removal of footnotes and things like that, according to the model policies. But all the changes have been logged. But we would like to recommend that they're warned and adopted.
Okay, and Laura seconded your motion. Is there any more discussion? Peter, do you have those? Okay, so Peter has them. If there's no discussion, oh, go ahead, Mark.
I would just note that D5 and D6, there are no changes. The policies that had been voted on in 2017, whenever it was, contained information that was supposed to have been removed before the policy was voted on. And that's the only change, we took that information out.
Yeah, and I gotta tell you guys, whoever put this together for the agenda, Bill, I'm not sure, this is really helpful, so that
This is Mark.
Mark sent it to
Good
me.
job,
It's
Mark.
cut and paste, baby. Cut and
Yeah, Mark, thank you very much.
Yeah, it's great.
So, if there's no other discussion, you all ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
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 Appears as though the ayes have it. The ayes have it unanimously.
And then for B22, the policy. Oh,
Before you make a motion, we have renumbered before, and I look back at my notes, and we have not rewarned them.
okay.
So, unless there's somebody who would like to rewarn this, I believe we can just renumber it and mark it as reviewed.
All right, I think that's a wonderful recommendation. So for B22A, that the policy committee moves forward to the board, that we renumber it from B22A to B50 and mark it as reviewed.
Second.
Laura seconds it. Kate makes a motion that B22A, public complaints, be renumbered and that the board has reviewed it and there will be a review date on it. Bill, are you good with that? Okay.
Yep.
The administration tells us that's perfectly fine, and we've done it in the past, according to Mark. Are you ready to vote?
Just for the record, and for Chad, the way we number them, anything at 50 or above is an RVUSD only policy, which is why we're renumbering this.
Do we have a policy on how we number them?
We do not. Oh, no, we do not.
That is a procedure.
Right. No, we used to have a policy on policies. You know, the difference between a policy and a procedure. So that's why I didn't think we'd ever carried that over. So I was just curious, Mark. I wasn't trying to correct you or anything.
Oh, no, and we could write one if you really want it. I don't think it's necessary though.
No, I don't think so either, but I think somewhere we should just have a preamble in the policy book, just explaining so that if somebody looked at that, you know, if Chad was to just take the policy book home and read it to do his school board due diligence, you know, he would understand why he went from B12 to all of a sudden to B50, was my only thought.
We do when it's on every agenda as well, every policy committee agenda.
How the numbers work?
Yep.
Or when we change a number, like we bring it forward, that like,
No,
yeah.
I meant the thing like if it's over 50, it's a River Valley specific.
In the footer of every policy committee agenda, it separates out the 4 or 5 different categories of numbers, or ranges of numbers, including after it's 50, it's an RVUSD only policy.
Okay, thank you.
But I think you were asking for that to be in the policy book.
I just asked for a little disclaimer in the front of the policy book.
Yeah, the same thing that you've got, like just making sure it's in the policy book for like if the public or somebody.
It's in my policy book.
Yeah, but just make sure it's in the official one that Bill gave me.
If COVID would end.
Could be.
Okay. Anyways,
What is the new number of the policy?
B50. B as in boy, 50. All ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
I,
Aye.
Appears so the ayes have it. Appears it's unanimous. No executive session?
Nope.
One quick comment, if you're gonna be live to the meeting, can we just let Matt know while we're meeting here? Because if there's only gonna be a couple, we don't have to set up as many tables. Can we fix something with these mics, or is it just a cable, or?
Just a cable thing. We'll fix it.
Okay. If there's nothing else, our next meeting will be the 1st of November, 6 p.m. here. I'm just looking for that magic motion.
So moved. To adjourn.
Yes. Second?
I second.
Okay, motion adjourned. Laura, seconded by Kate. We're all out of here. Thank you, guys.